Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here for wearechange.org. And, Breitbart is making the waves today with its very viral video of Google executives almost breaking down into tears over Trump's election. Now, I know a lot of you people are going to say, Jason, this is just mainstream media madness. This isn't something you should be covering. But I think that it's important to cover this. Why? Because these people are so emotional about a political agenda, and they are projecting that to what are supposed to be the best and brightest dealing with technology. And it's kind of absurd to me, number one, that they think there's that much of a difference. Many of these people being millionaires, I have no idea how much Sergey's worth, but I'm sure he's worth plenty, if not billions. Again, I'm not saying he is worth billions. He's worth a lot of money. All right? And, he looks like he's going to break down. Now, I want to be careful when we play this because I don't want to get a copyright strike or, have the broadcast go off. So we're going to do it piece by piece and kind of break it down. And then we're going to move on into other things that are going on with Google behind the scenes that aren't getting this play. You see, because this is very left or right, liberal, conservative, divisive, mainline, you're going to see a lot about this. You're not going to see a lot about the Arizona prosecutor possibly going after Google on criminal charges because of their track trace database software that is track tracing databasing you everywhere you go, whether or not you have your GPS location and all that jazz on. All right? On top of that, what else is Google so deep into? Well, how about Google's DeepMind project? How about Google getting into robotics like never before with artificial intelligence through Boston Dynamics and, of course, DARPA? We're going to cover all of that stuff. And I think it's important we cover that because, again, these are the people behind that. It's a much bigger agenda, and they're almost in tears because Hillary Clinton didn't get into office. And they buy in. Again, you want to call Trump out for what he is, that's fine. That's fine. But the stuff that comes out of their mouth is just unproven nonsense. So here we go.
No, this is probably not the most joyous TGIF we have had. Most people here are pretty upset and pretty sad because of the election. I'm glad we're getting together at a moment
like... Let's pause it on Sergey right there before we get to the next person. Once again, he is the head of the company. For him to sit there and go, most of us, and put it down, that's not the way you run a business. Let alone a global empire. An empire, by the way, which is the definition of fascism. But again, this is why parapolitics within our own country and, of course, geopolitics are so complicated. Because if you go into the actual definition of fascism, there's a dictator. It's usually ethno-based. But then you look at state control of the economy and business. And, yeah, you can argue that small businesses exist. You can bring your business up. That's all real. But when you get to the tibbity-tobbity, by the way, thank you, Nicholas Peter. We'll talk about that super chat in a way. But when you get to that top level like these guys are, let me tell you something. No, you're not paying taxes. You're in bed with the government everywhere. You're literally giving any information that they want to them. You're track tracing and databasing everybody on every level you possibly can. Go to my personal Facebook page, okay? It's over, I think it's over, in 2008, 2007. I'm not sure when I got it, but 2008 sounds right. So it's over 10 years old now, okay? I stopped posting personal stuff, at least on any kind of regular, 7-8 years ago when I realized what was really going on here. I don't have a Snapchat. I don't have an Instagram. I understand why, social media is important. You can connect with people. I am hesitant about the personal conversations that I have with people in direct messaging and Messenger. But those conversations are also on the same level as what you're doing texting on a Google device. Do you understand? All of these companies are sharing that data. All of them are putting it together. And that's why artificial intelligence is something we have to talk about later on. But look at Sergey, man. He looks like he's going to cry. Like, he brings in this, it's not the happiest TGIF. Well, I'm just so glad that Google's so hip and with it that they still do TGIF. You know what TGIF to me is? It's shows they ran on a Friday night before I was old enough to go out with my other friends that I would watch, like Family Matters. I think Full House was part of TGIF. That's the block of TV. It shouldn't be a Google get-together where you mourn about the presidency. Give me a break. All right, let's keep doing this.
Like this.
And I think it's a very stressful time.
It's been an extraordinarily stressful time, I'm sure, for many of you. There is a lot of fear within Google.
I'm seeing Googlers who are full of fear.
There are people who are very afraid.
They're full of fear about the future. They're full of fear about what the uncertainty means for them.
Let's stop it right there. So now everybody's afraid. What are you afraid of? I mean, folks, why are we buying into this nonsense? Listen, Trump isn't the best president in the world. I mean, I guess he's the only president of the United States in the world. And he may be... This is tough because he's gone back on so many of his promises. Remember we were supposed to get those JFK documents? And, you know, this is a good time to bring up the Super Chat. And by the way, Super Chats keep us in business. Thank you so much. It helps us so much on these live streams. Nicholas Peter, great 9/11 video. Luke stepped on your toes a bit. I don't think so. You know, Luke has a perspective. I have a perspective. You know, Luke and I met before Loose Change Final Cut was out. Just, actually, before Loose Change Second Edition was out, we met. When he was just part of New York 9/11 Truth. And I forget... Les Jameson, I think, was the head of that organization at the time. There was a lot of disruptiveness, and you know, I think Luke has done such tremendous work. And I mean, you go to our We Are Change page, and we posted a lot, both on the Twitter and on Facebook, a lot of the old school confrontations, but not anywhere near what we could have. I had 3 pages of those bad boys, but you know, editing, doing videos, like the video we did, Nicholas Peter. And again, thank you so much, Super Chats. We need them. We love them. I mean, this video, you know, we just got this page monetized, guys. Okay, here's the fear. You know, I'm doing a video about Google, which owns YouTube, which we're broadcasting on. Double-edged sword, technology, good and evil. I'm sorry that I got to, you know, point this out, Google. And I know that you own YouTube, but this is all real. What's the fear? Do you really think that Trump is a racist? It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Okay, Trump doesn't care what color you are as long as he can make the color green and make it with you. And that doesn't make him a great person. That doesn't make him not a gangster, not an actor, not a liar. He's all those things, not a womanizer. Okay? But again, we knew what we were getting into. What can you say about Hillary Clinton? Look at her husband. He literally, other than, you know, I'd say the acting part, because he was a career politician, he's more of a lawyer type. Other than that, you know, I would say all of those things pertain to him and Donald Trump. Okay? They're both criminals, liars, gangsters, and womanizers. Now, there's varying degrees of that. I again think that Trump got into this with the best of intentions and is actually trying to do the best he can, but when he needs the cojones to come over and say, talk about Syria, right? And say that this idea that Assad would gas his own people and not use his presidency to militarily withdraw and just let them have Idlib, instead allying with al-Qaeda. Open news, not only in Syria, but in Yemen, where we gave, you know, that $400+ billion arms deal to Saudi Arabia. That doesn't make me happy. That's gangster. All right? And you can spin it any way you want, but that's globalist murder, Inc. That's what that is. Okay? So let's keep going. But again, what's the fear? Hillary would have done the same exact thing. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear about our jobs. Why? Why is there fear about your job? It's ridiculous.
And their families.
It's uncertain for many of us here, you know, especially immigrants or minorities,
women, blacks, you know, people who are afraid based on religion, the LGBTQ community.
I would just advise us all to be calm.
Oh. There it is. I just advise us all to be calm. Yeah, I'd advise you to be calm too, because everything you said is ridiculous. Again, if Trump thinks he can make money with you, if Trump... all right, so let's talk about the womanizing, right? At the same time, he's no dummy, and he's dealt with powerful women all of his life, and that's why they are essential in his cabinet. Sean Spicer, folded like a piece of paper, was crumbled up and literally tossed into the handbasket of garbage by the mainstream media. The fake news ate him alive. And they are. I'm sick of it. You know, I watched a piece on by Ari Melber and all this nonsense. You know, when you start telling the truth about 9/11, when you start telling the truth about the Iraq War, you start telling the truth about what's going on in Syria, then you could start talking about fake news. You guys, you make me sick. That's what I'm sick about. That's what I'm uneasy about. Okay? So you look at her, and she's like, I just want everybody to remain calm. We got to remain calm. And they're all talking about minorities. Listen, Omarosa, who I don't think is a good person, you know, I don't like a lot of what Piers Morgan does, but Piers Morgan recently wrote a story about how Omarosa wanted to like hook up with him to have like a fake on-screen reality show relationship to promote themselves in the media. And that's the kind of cunning person that gets in these administrations. She's not a good person, but Trump was willing to work with her. Did it matter that she was a black woman? Absolutely not. Sarah Huckabee Sanders taking over Sean Spicer's spot like I was just talking about. She's much better and much more adept at answering questions than Spicer was. At least she doesn't fold. She's not perfect. But why should she be? She has to sit up there and lie all the time. Okay? That's the thing. I'm sorry, all you know, everything Trump, Trump. But we're going to tell it like it is here. Again, he backed out on JFK. He's not going to tell us the truth about 9/11. We played that video. Oh, we're going to find out who did 9/11. You know, we did get those 28 pages, but still a little bit redacted, still not telling the full story. We didn't get the 80,000 pages from the FBI. Trump, what are you waiting for? Make Mueller look as terrible as he is now. That's what you should do. You should release those 80,000 pages. And the American people should want his head no matter how the media spins it. So let's continue with this thing. We're about halfway through, but it's just ridiculous. Again, Trump worked with Don King in Atlantic City to make... I can't even imagine how much money they made together. I can't even imagine. I realize that Trump's gone bankrupt 3 different times, but that doesn't mean they didn't make money on those promotions. And him and Don King, arm in arm all the time. It's unreal. Here we go.
You know, there's a GCOM place that you can go to and just take a breath. Healing is a process. It does take time.
As an immigrant and a refugee, I certainly find this election deeply offensive.
It did feel like a ton of bricks dropped on my chest.
Trump specifically, who I know many of us find very offensive.
And I've had a chance to talk to a lot of fellow Googlers, and people have said different words, similar concept, how painful this is.
How painful this is. Like a ton of bricks dropped on my chest. I mean, can you imagine getting the wind knocked out of you because someone won an election? I mean, folks, let me explain to you, okay? Bush and Gore in 2000, the first election I was able to vote in, and I don't believe I didn't vote in that election at all. Couldn't have cared less. Because this is pre-9/11. And then all the hubbub back and forth. You know, this was after an era that Bill Clinton was actually a very popular president and had just gone through the first ever impeachment scandal of my generation over banging an intern. And by the way, there's way more to that story. In fact, there's a new story out there really connecting Monica Lewinsky as being used by Israel in a blackmail scheme. And a lot of people have speculated and showed, you know, evidence for that for years. And now it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when, you know, you have it, maybe this is the first election outside of primaries, you know, Ron Paul revolution, Tea Party. People have to realize, you know, that whole Tea Party movement, that came from 9/11 Truth. You know, if you type in Tea Party Jason Burmis, this is pre, you know, the big Ron Paul era, and we were out there, you know, I wasn't in the outfits, but many people were, dumping the 9/11 Commission in a giant thing into, I think it was like the San Francisco Bay. That's where we're at. We're at the Bay Area. And that's where that originated. They constantly stole 9/11 Truth's ideas because we were so successful in a, pre-Twitter, dominated media cycle. When TV still mattered, we were really making our rounds on the internet, not only through YouTube, but all these other platforms. They consolidated that power. And now they're worried because, how is their narrative supposed to be pushed on the people? And these people want to control the narrative. And again, I don't get it other than that, because I don't think Trump has enough power to take out Google. We'll see. We'll see how ballsy he gets. Again, we haven't really had an antitrust president since Teddy Roosevelt, in my opinion, and that's a long time ago, folks. So let's continue.
Find so many things that Trump said very offensive.
I reached out to someone close to me who was at the Javits Center where the big celebration was supposed to occur in New York City. Somebody who had been working on the campaign. And I just sent him a note and said, are you okay? It looks like it's going the wrong way. And I got back a very sad, short text that read, "People are leaving, staff is crying, we're going to lose."
Come on, man. Come on. But, this whole time, there's no talk about whether the military-industrial complex is just going to keep up in Afghanistan, keep up in Iraq, continue to bombard Syria with the quagmire that has become that conflict by, supporting Islamic terror. So, where's Trump on that? How come ISIS isn't wiped out? How come we're seeing a resurgence of Al-Qaeda? How come we're working with them if they're doing so well? It's so different. I mean, this is hilarious to me on so many levels. And I'm not going to sit here and call this woman a libtard and all that other stuff, because she's just clearly brainwashed. And that's dangerous because she has so much influence. And all these people are clearly brainwashed. All right? That's the problem. And people that are brainwashed have no idea. I often hear this from people. Crazy people don't know they're insane. And that's very true. A lot of them don't realize that they're insane. Okay? And I'm not here to tell you that I'm right about everything and that you should go out and believe every word I say. But you can look into all of my information. You can see how I've presented it. You can see the source material that I'm coming from. And I understand that I am also, I'm a slave to consumerism just as much as anybody else. Not so much on TV anymore because I don't watch commercials, but, we've got that Google AdSense. Hey, thanks, Google. And again, a technology, a tool for good or evil. I know plenty of people that are making money using tools like Google AdSense. I worked for a tech company for some time, managed service provider, all those type of ad campaigns, Hootsuite, utilizing social media. That's a big deal. And that does help. And, every once in a while I do see something and go, oh, I could get that, but I never get it from there. I know they're the cheaper spots. But, I understand how it works. All right? It's not going anywhere, Google. And you're...
That was the first moment I really felt like we were going to lose. And it was this massive, kick in the gut that we were going to lose. And it was really painful.
It was really painful. And that's the wrap. So, I'm not even a huge Breitbart fan. I remember my time at InfoWars when Breitbart was still the enemy, for good reason, because they push war. They push nonsense. They push bullshit. And I get it, we're falling back into this left-right paradigm, but I'm not buying into it. And that's what's so upsetting about this, because, again, if you're going to attack Trump, can we attack him from the truth? Can we attack him on his actual broken promises and not some nonsense over here? Oh, so, for those that don't know, Arizona's top prosecutor is reportedly investigating Google. This is a good thing. Let's hope that, he doesn't have a sudden heart attack or get in a car accident or decide to get on a small plane anytime soon. But I want to read this for people because they need to understand that, once again, guys, the Track Trace Database Society is real. It's happening now. Everything you are doing digitally has its own footprint. Big data is coming more and more and more as they master AI. And I just watched a really interesting documentary that's out there. And I think it fell off a little bit at the end, but at the same time did a good presentation about Ted Cruz. It's called Do You Trust Your Computer? Okay? And essentially, it's looking at AI. It has Jonathan Nolan prevalently in it, the man behind Westworld, Christopher Nolan's brother, really talented filmmaker. Elon Musk and Kurzweil is in it, and other visionaries of AI. And it's frightening. And it's stuff that I've been talking about for quite some time. But here's the thing. You know, by the time you get to the end of it, they're talking about fake news and algorithms, and there's a little bullshit there, but where there isn't is where they show you how you can target ads through Facebook's Business Manager app and how they did so with the Ted Cruz campaign and Cambridge Analytica, because all that stuff was real. Okay, and you know, Fusion GPS was doing it too, but they don't want to talk about that because that doesn't fit their narrative. But many of these companies, if you don't think companies like Stratfor, the Kissinger Institute, are using big data analytics and that sort of thing to sway opinion, you'd be absolutely wrong and naive. Now, that's all well and good. I understand that's happening, but with a lot of that big data, you don't really know you're giving it up. And it wasn't, you know, that's why that Facebook scandal wasn't much of a Facebook scandal to me. You know, for instance, Vizio is paying out, I think, $2.2 million in a lawsuit right now over updating their smart TVs with ACR software, which basically means audio recognition, and they're recording. See, I can't say recording because that's incorrect. That's not how it works. They can use sonar and all these other types of technology where it's not necessarily recording your voice, but it's certainly picking up what the words are. And there's different patents on that. And that's what Facebook, you know, still uses this day, and all those different apps on your Android, ACR software. So they updated their Vizio TVs for that, and now there's a lawsuit. You don't see anything about that because they don't want you to be aware of all this invasion of privacy. So let's read some of this right here. Arizona's top prosecutor investigating Google for its location tracking practices, the Washington Post reports. The investigation follows the revelation that Google continues to store users' location data even if they have turned off location history. Of course. According to a public filing cited by the Post, Arizona Attorney General Mark Bronovich has hired an outside law firm to help investigate a tech company for potential consumer fraud. Act violations related to the storage consumer location data and tracking consumer location even when consumers turn off location services and take other steps to stop such tracking. An unnamed source told the Post that the company under investigation is indeed Google. A spokesperson for the Arizona AG's office told ZDNet that the office has been working on this civil investigation for quite some time. So, again, all these big technology companies are doing it. Your terms of service absolutely take every little piece of information they can possibly get from you. And that is the reality. And that is why DARPA is planning to spend $2 billion developing new AI technologies. And I want you to take a look at the little robot here, the robotics division of DARPA. Okay, now what do you think they're going to be fitted with? Well, obviously artificial intelligence, as much as they can. And there's a lot of people out there saying that AI doesn't exist, but it exists in varying degrees. We're not saying that it has consciousness. You know, there's the possibility, for instance, that the idea of consciousness may be the singularity that people talk about. And there are people that are saying it's 30 years away, 20 years away, 40 years away, but there is almost no discussion that we won't hit the singularity. You know, I watched that entire Elon Musk, Joe Rogan podcast, and, you know, he's one of those people. We're going to be able to upload our entire selves and just put it into, you know, a new thing. It's, you know, like that Netflix show where they refer to a human body as nothing more than a sleeve, and your consciousness is embedded in a digital apparatus. But, you know, Musk did say one thing that I hope he's right about, that people are going to choose to stay in their bodies. And, you know, whether or not we're able to get the regenerative technology, the de-aging technology, I don't know, man. I don't know when we lose our humanity, if that's a possibility. These are big questions. Big questions. Do you trust your computer? Please watch that documentary if you get the chance. And then, you know, there's a, man, what's it called? It's from 2004, The Worldwide Mind. I don't know if it's still out there. If you can find it, maybe on like Daily Motion TV, 2004 PBS documentary. Very interesting stuff. Kurzweil really asks some of these big questions. And right now, with DARPA planning to spend $2 billion, and again, DARPA, Boston Dynamics, Google, Amazon at this point, and their AI divisions. These are all real. They're all using this kind of money. I discussed on the live program with Luke this Sunday. If you're not watching that live stream, please do it. And by the way, folks, again, not only subscribe, share our stuff on social media, hit the notification bell so you can actually see when this stuff comes out. You know, I'll be lucky to get 1,000 views on this video. It's already been demonetized out of the gates, as all my live streaming is here and over at the main channel. And, you know, we need your support now more than ever. I've been taking some of these videos, uploading them over to Facebook. They don't seem to be getting the traction they should. We have almost 600,000 followers and likes separately, not combined. I mean, that's over 1.2 million impressions almost. It's incredible that people don't see all the stuff we do. But you look again, DARPA, robotics, drones, AI, Google, Google, and that's actually a theme in this documentary. Google doesn't even know what Google is going to become, but they have so many servers. They have, their one location where they're just storing everything, including, what is it? I believe it's the DNA of as much life on Earth as possible. Argyle, thank you so much. It says, keep up the good fight. We appreciate that super chat. Vermis 2020. You know, I have entertained the idea, not of running in 2020, but possibly 2028. And doing just a 10-year campaign online. The only problem, I feel like I'd be deplatformed 2 or 3 years in. You know, if I'm able to even survive another 10 years, you never know when your number is up, folks. I want to live for a very long time. And that's why when I look at AI and I look at DARPA and I look at robotics and I look at technology as a double-edged sword, that temptation is there, you know? And then I think to myself, man, wouldn't it be odd, though? You know, I'm raising these 2 girls with my sister. They're 9 and 7, and that technology gets there, and we're in a stasis at one point where we don't age, and then they have children, and there's so many questions about our future and humanity's future and where we're going and how we're going to use this technology and where artificial intelligence and robotics. Because the other thing is, you look at something like Westworld, where it's a theme park, and basically people are there to let as much of their base urges, their dark side, out as possible, a lot of these people, and even to engage in a sexual relationship with a robot is extremely bizarre to me. No matter how advanced that robot is. I didn't like the Spike Jonze movie Her. I thought it creeped me out. It creeped me out big time. And if that's where we're at, where people are literally just going to want a relationship with a device that looks like their phone, count me out. I'm not down with that. And even if the more temptation of, having this, perfect artificial companion, I think that is, that's it. And that's if we get that far, because it asks the question, again, will it be some kind of a wipeout scenario? Where we're, Elon Musk put it this way on the Joe Rogan podcast: when we're building a road and there's an anthill with all these ants in the way, we don't even think about it. It's just an anthill. We just push it over and get it out of the way. Why wouldn't artificial intelligence think the same way about human beings? And that's a valid question. So we've gone over the video, guys, especially the super chats. I really appreciate the engagement. Again, please share our stuff on social media, get the word out, ring that bell so you hear stuff. And, I'm not sure if I have a join button on this one. I'm going to try to put one on, but this one, the main page, anything you can do to help out really does help us. And hopefully you'll see some more great stuff from us later on in the week. Guys, be the change you want to see in the world. And thank you all so much once again for joining me. It's really, really appreciated.